Welcome to Bouqui'S Place. How are you guys doing? I wanted to take a break, but decided against it because of a lot of comments in my DM. So we're going to be bringing people that can enlighten us, give us the ingredients and the necessary tools that we need in this season to engage our minds for critical thinking. And you know, this is what we do. And today in the building, I have the phenomenal Olakunle Soriyan. So, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll for the one and only. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, awesome.
How are
Good to see
you?
you.
Good to
I'm
see
doing
you
really
too.
good. You look well.
Oh, I am well.
I'm
Thank you
great.
so much. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you. So
Awesome.
welcome to the war room at Bouqui'S Place. Thank you so much for doing this. And
Great.
your reputation precedes you.
Thank
You
you.
think, you engage your mental. It's an art that a lot of people don't engage in. I
I hear
remember
you.
as a as a kid, my dad used to say, think, engage your mind. And I'm like, I'm thinking. And then you realize that if you actually think, there's a way to do it that is easier
Yeah,
than stressing yourself. And
correct.
so yeah, so I want you to tell us, because I was so distraught on, I think 5 days ago, and I gave
Great.
you a call and
Yes.
I said, oh, blah, blah, blah. And you gave me a perspective that calmed me all the way down. And I really feel it will be unfair if we do not give this perspective to the people, especially the people of faith, and then people, Nigerians in general. So welcome to Bouqui'S Place, the war room, where
Thank
we
you.
think, where we strategize, where we process,
Thank you.
critically think,
Thank you,
so
Wookie, for what you do. Thank you for putting yourself out, every time. I'm a fan, I've followed your work, I've followed your work for years, I've always drawn a lot of comfort from your music and from what you represent, and so to be part of your platform anytime is a privilege. I don't take it for granted. More so now that
mm,
people need clarity. What I say every time is when we know better, we do better.
we do better.
And people need that clarity to be able to own their options and own their reality and take action. So,
Yes.
yeah, let's go there.
Let's go. Appreciate the good words. So
Yeah,
we know that in light of what just happened in Nigeria, our home, we might be detached physically from Nigeria, but we can never be emotionally or spiritually detached from our home. That they say
correct,
pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And we know what
correct,
just happened. And when we look at it from outside, to see a picture well, you have to stand away from it and look at
correct,
it. You cannot be a
correct,
part of a picture and see it properly. So I
correct.
think we diasporians, we have a little bit of perspective that a lot of people don't have. And I know that they're selling narratives. They're selling all these things. I want you to give us your perspective on what happened, and then I'll piggyback with the questions and we'll move from there.
Yeah, first of all, we identify with the losses, particularly the body counts. I
Mm,
think that is supreme above anything, right?
mm,
And at the same time, you want to, slow down and understand the scenario and
mm,
then be able to determine what role you should play and what type of stake is available,
mm,
right? And the way I see it, is not the way I see it now. It's
mm.
not different from the way I saw it from the very beginning,
Yeah,
right?
go.
To a lot of millennials and Gen Z, a lot of what has happened is a surprise,
Mm,
and people are really shocked at the reaction of the government, the behavior of the so-called hoodlums, which I hope we're going to get to really
mm.
discuss those guys,
Yes.
and so to a lot of people, there's a lot of shock and surprise, but for some of us that have seen 10 years 4 times with some extras,
Mm,
especially our category of those who have seen 10 years 5 times or who have seen 10 years 4 times with some
mm,
extras. In other words,
mm.
those who are in their 40s and
50,
50s,
40s.
there's nothing going on that is new. There's
Mm,
nothing, right? We've seen all of these as the character of protest in Nigeria on both sides. On the side of the government, predictable responses. On the sides of the masses, predictable responses. The government is always so hyper on defending the regime and destroying any act that suggests regime change. Even if, you know, a fly is flying and is singing a song that sounds like regime change, the government will roll out its tanks and its bullets against the fly, even though clearly a fly has no capacity to initiate regime change. But the government does not see like that. And the government in Nigeria is tone deaf. You know, it's not really about what is going on outside. It's what is going on in their mind, essentially, as the agenda they've chosen to honor. And that is what drives them. The people on the other side are always driven by anger, you know, and pain, you know. And pain is not a quantity that you allow to dominate you. A pain is a call to adjustment. And when you don't understand that, you know, you will react, you know, you will try to numb the pain.
Sorry. So what we do here is we give people practical tools so that they can use it for their daily lives. And so as we're talking about Nigeria, we're going to be relating it to our lives. So I want you to say what you just said now. I want you to break it all the way down. Pain is a call for adjustments.
Yes. Pain is a call for adjustment. I mean, if your hands are here, if your hands are here, this is equilibrium. If your hands are down this way, this is equilibrium. Your hands are designed to be there. You can't feel any pain. But if you put your hands up and you keep it there for a long time, if you put your hands up, your hands are not designed to be here permanently. They are designed to be here temporarily if you choose to put it there. So if you put your hands there, it is not where it is designed to be. And so it will be greeted with a season of peace and zero pain, right? But after a while, your wrong decision to put your hands where it's not supposed to be will be tested by time. And in time, you begin to feel a lot of pain. When you begin to feel the pain, you don't use painkillers. If you use painkillers, it's going to numb it for a while and you're going to suffer relapse. You don't use painkillers. You don't get worried. The pain you are feeling is the voice of your being, is the voice of the universe, is the voice of God instructing you to make an adjustment. Make an adjustment. And guess what? The moment you bring the hands down to equilibrium, the pain does not disappear immediately, right? Which also says that your circumstance does not prove that you are in a wrong place or in a right place, right? But if you tarry and keep your hands there, the pain is going to go. I don't care if it's financial pain. I don't care if it's physical pain. I don't care if it's emotional pain, marital pain, or a pain in your body, or societal pain like we are going through. Pain is a call to adjustment. And the response to adjustment is expertise, not emotion. The call to adjustment is expertise, not emotion. Because emotion left independent is a vice. Emotion without rules is like freedom without rules. Freedom without rules is a vice. It's like principle. It's like politics without principle, right? It's like loyalty without humanity, right? So in the same way, when you look at it, emotions must be subjected to reasoning, and reasoning must be guided by truth before you move to action. When you move from E, emotion, to A, action, it doesn't matter how determined you are creating chaos, and you make yourself susceptible to error, because emotion should never create actions. Emotions must be felt as the earliest voice of change, but you must surrender the emotion to reasoning, and then surrender reasoning to be guided by truth before you move to emotion. What has happened and what has continued to happen in Nigeria is that we move from emotions to actions. We empower words like determination, words like anger, and determination is not a strategy. Anger is not a strategy. Even hope is not a strategy, because hope has inbuilt capacity to wear you out. Those of us who read the scripture know what the Bible says. He said, hope deferred, make. What is doing the making? It is the hope itself, deferred unnecessarily. Hope not converted to results within clear time, strategic time frame will design, brew your weariness. Hope deferred, make the heart sick. So hope is not an independent variable. Hope is a dependent variable. Anger is not an independent variable. Determination, resolve, they are not independent variables. They are dependent variables. On their own, they will be enough to unlock the weight of your feeling. But left to themselves, they will also be on ground to brew your frustration, to brew your weariness, and probably design your defeat. So when you are mature, you grow to a certain level where you walk from an helicopter view, where you are dispassionate and you try to be strategic about how you operate. The idea is to know that you just can't hope you are correct. You got to know that you are correct. And the difference between the gaps of hope and knowing is expertise. It's being strategic. It's being clear. It's principle, right? So that is why I said it critically, that the Nigerian masses have continued to pretend that pain is actually therapeutic. Because we seem to find a lot of comfort in pain, and we act based on pain. I don't know whoever is in pain. If your legs are cut right now, you don't stay in your house and say, look at my leg. You go to the hospital. Expertise. I just said it. The response to pain is expertise. The response to pain is expertise. If you have an accident and you are building, you call a doctor. When you are stressed and someone is trying to stress your life legally, you call a lawyer. When you need help, at any level, when you feel the weight of pain, you call to expertise. When you feel a terminal disease, you reach out to a power beyond you, right? So the idea is, if you don't learn the humility of understanding the character of anger in itself, of pain in itself, you are just going to be determined, you'll be sincere, but you sincerely fail. People are sincerely in prison. People are sincerely poor. People are sincerely frustrated. People are sincerely killed, sincerely raped, because sincerity is not a factor of production. Land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, you can't find sincerity there. Sincerity is a dependent variable. It's not enough to say, God sees my heart. God sees your heart, but we don't. The world don't. What we see is strategy, is action, is the quality of your thinking, the strength of your character. I think those are the kind of things that are missing on the table. So if we switch it back to the conversation about Nigeria, right, you see that on both sides there is unguardedness, right?
Can we drink water? Can we drink water on that one first? 1 minute. Okay, go ahead.
By the time you look at it, you see that the government has a predictable pattern, right? I mean, I remember the riots in the 70s, Ali Must Go. I was so young in Ali Must Go. In the 80s, young people, the early 90s were protesting. Today you don't find the average Nigerian student very conscious. In our time when we were in school, I think I spent about, I can't remember how many times the school authorities closed down our school. Students have been dying from student union initiated protests.
I went to Ife, so I know.
You understand? These are not even protests for regime change. These are just protests within the institution. The police comes and people die. And people are shot, even when the territorial integrity of the nation is not at stake at all. Right? So we don't see body count because young people died in this protest. I feel that I connected to that. But even on lesser issues that are not even as complex as what NSAS represented, Nigerian youths have been killed by the police. The Nigerian government has rolled out military, has rolled out police force and AK-47, even when nothing that serious is at stake. That is not the issue. The issue is all of that is documented in our history. Anyone who is trying to organize any form of movement, any form of positivity that rally around the minds of our people has to consider the contents of history. We may not know what to do, but we should always be clear about what we are not going to do. You see? And when you remove what you are not going to do, then what is left is what you should do. I tell people, you will not always know what God is up to, but you should always be clear about what God cannot be up to. And when you take out what God cannot be up to, then what is left is probably what is up to. And people pursue clarity. They pursue their purpose. You know, I said, a lot of times you don't even need to know what you are doing. That is luxury. But you should always be clear about what you are not up to, about what you are not doing, about what you are not going to do. A lot of times, those are the early stages of clarity, right? And so the way the protest started, the way it moved, awesome. I supported NSAS. I am for NSAS. I still stand for NSAS till today. I was very vocal about it. But the strategy was wrong. At the same time, a lot of bullying was going on. A lot of bullying, even though it wasn't designed and nobody came out to represent it, but a lot of old people were being bullied, right? You know, like, you know, don't even say anything. If once you are not, you know, in your 30s, you are not in your 20s, and you try to say something, somebody's just going to come on you and come for you, like, just shut up, you are not needed. I need to say this. Young people cannot save, not just Nigeria, anywhere in the world. There's no change I have seen anywhere in the world that was 110% owned by any particular age. Ageism is as destructive as racism. Ageism is as segregative as what any type of segregation is. The idea is that I've seen foolish young men, very foolish young men. I have seen very wise, intelligent young men as well. I have seen very confident, foolish old men. I've seen massive ignorance sitting in the life of a 70-something-year-old. I've seen confident foolishness sitting in the life of a 60-year-old. But I've also seen wise old people. I've seen intelligent, clear old people whose body has faded and failed, but their mind has gotten fresher on a daily basis. So we don't need young people. We don't need old people. We need wise people. We need people with heads on their shoulders who can think and solve problems, understand the scenarios, birth options, expand the conversation, and heal blind spots. Cover blind spots, because blind spots can only be arrested by diversity of view. Only in diversity of view can we arrest blind spots, no matter how intelligent you are. There will be a part of the narrative you cannot see. And so diversity of view, of age, of color, of whatever it is must be brought on the table so that we can strengthen the wisdom table of change. Because the wisdom table of change is a table of diversity. And when you allow sentiments such as ageism, you throw confusion to your wisdom table. And then you show limited view of things on the wisdom table. I think that needed to be defeated. Again, I said it clearly from the very beginning. NSAS is a cry. Check my post. My very first post on Instagram on this. My tweets on Instagram, my very first tweets. I said long before there was any military guy coming on the road, I said NSAS is a cry, not a strategy. Why our government itself does not see that beats me till tomorrow. There's nothing in the way NSAS is set up that can lead to regime change. In fact, let me shock you, and this may not please our hearers today. There's nothing in the way it is set up that breeds lasting change, right? It's a cry, but a credible, justifiable beginning. a credible, justifiable beginning. Probably the most credible way to begin, but not the most credible way to continue, and not the most credible way to finish, right? And so we have to come back to begin to ask questions about, and Bouquie, I need to say this. I hear people say, oh, you know, we've lost. How do we regroup? You know, I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. If America is going to consider how many battles it lost in the Second World War, it will never claim victory, right? We think too short term and setback is such a disempowering idea that nobody wants to experience it. Setback, a setback, depending on where you sit, is a necessary experience in the war condition to assess your future value. A setback is a necessary, is so necessary because you don't see the future. Setback is feedback from the future. It's what allows you to adjust today so that you are not caught napping tomorrow. There's nothing wrong in what has happened, nothing wrong. You have done something, government has acted, a part of the feedback you don't like, it's okay. So stay on that wisdom table and continue to move, right? What we need to eliminate is violence. Nobody needs violence. And I want to beat my chest to say the protesters are not the violent ones. They are not the ones doing all of these things. But we need to expand who the protesters are, because we have two types. We have the peaceful protesters, then we have the protesters. Now, the so-called hoodlums are protesters as well. They are citizens of Nigeria who are a critical asset but an ignored quantity, who at any point in time to supply its best clarity and character will require the leadership of the conscious. And the power blocks have done their best for years to keep the people at the bottom of the triangle critically ignorant. And so what happens every time is that those guys lack the clarity to organize on their own. Now, they say when you strike the shepherd, the sheep will scatter. The same hoodlums, in quote, have been with us, have been with the protests all this while, and there was no violence, and they were there. Then the shooting started, and the conscious elites in front were separated from the people at the bottom of the triangle. And because they could not handle the moment, they performed to capacity. They performed to installed capacity. Now, amongst those who are looting, who are maiming and destroying, there are also two types of people, right? There are those that were created by some evil forces to spread this crisis, right? What they did is not natural, it's not, you know, it's premeditated by a group who paid them and pushed them out to discredit the protest. But the larger, and they are probably the ones who began that agenda. But there is a larger number of people who join in that violence, who are not ideally violent people, organizers, carpenters, artisans, drivers, house helps, those guys at the bottom of the triangle who lack the clarity between you and I. So you look at me, and I've said it before, you look at Olakunle Soriyan as I'm here. When I'm angry and displeased, I have a minimum level of behavior, right? Because of my exposure, because of my training, because of the privilege of my upbringing, there's just some level I cannot descend to, regardless. I can't subscribe to violence in any way, right? Now, part of that idea is if I'm angry, I will come on Bouqui'S show. If I'm angry, I will do a blog. I will put something on my post. I do a peaceful walk and all of that. What I'm doing, bottom line, is I am performing to installed capacity. I am performing to installed capacity. A 40 kVA generator cannot perform like a 128 kVA generator. A 10 kVA generator cannot perform like a 20 kVA generator. In the same way, I will perform to installed capacity. The so-called hoodlums are performing to installed capacity. They did not have the privilege of the education you and I have. These guys did not read comics. They did not read novels. They didn't see cartoons. These guys did not attend a university. They did not read magazines. They didn't have a university degree. They didn't have master's degree. They don't see the US movies. We don't see the conditioning of Hollywood and the conditioning of the Western world. There's so much ignorance, fear, opacity, and poverty that exists in them. Now go to any level of study. There are 4 things that govern the rationality or irrationality of a human being. The first one is whether he has the capacity to choose and to manipulate the experience his individuality deserves. Once the human life lacks the capacity to stay in control of its necessary human experiences, is either a slave, a poor person, or a victim. The word victim, slave, or poverty mean the same thing. How do they mean the same thing? Because whether you are a slave, you are a victim, or you are poor, the 3 of you lack the control over your necessary human experiences, your necessary due human experiences. That's what makes you poor. Now, when you are in that state and you add ignorance to it, and you add opacity to it, and you add fear and anxiousness to it, it's a recipe for disaster. It means at any point in time, you will need another voice superior to yours to govern your thinking, to govern your character, and govern your behavior. You will surprise yourself and do what even you cannot imagine the moment you lose touch with that control. And so I say to people, even in good people, the potential for evil on a large scale exists. Even in good people, when you have the pressure in life that brings out the wretchedness of the human condition, you will be shocked if the same most educated people find themselves in a room and there's no way they can all get out, and they are going to be there for the next 50 years or 20 years. I kid you not, they will eat themselves, and they will do it so sadly. They will begin to analyze who should die first, who should die later. Why? Because their wretchedness as human being is being tested at a level they are not prepared for. And what is happening to the people at the bottom of the triangle is the society continuously tests that part of them, consistently place a demand on that part of them. These are citizens. What is the meaning of hoodlum? Let me define a hoodlum for you. This is dictionary. This is Google, right? Yeah. Dictionary. A person,
anybody who engages in violence, right?
In crime, violence, hooligan, or gangster. Now, that has nothing to do with class. That has nothing to do with status. That has nothing to do. So somebody can drive a BMW, walk in a skyscraper as chief executive of a company, and be a hoodlum by that definition. If he engages in crime, if he engages in, so a hoodlum, we need to stop calling these people hoodlums, right? These are people we have neglected for years. We have not given them the attention their individuality deserves. Now, I agree that there are penitentiaries in every country. There are prisons in America, in London, in every country, right? So regardless of how you treat someone, the one who has descended to a level of evil will manifest his evil. But because armed robbers wear trainers does not mean everyone wearing trainers is an armed robber. So because we have evil people, a constant in every country, that does not mean everyone acting in a particular way, killing, is evil. If I kill somebody in my house, because I'm educated, you just can't jail me. I will hire a lawyer. You still have to prove if it was self-defense, or that it was manslaughter, or if it was, you have to prove all of that. You just can't send me to jail because you caught me killing. We still have to check why I killed, the motive for my killing, even if you caught me killing. So because these guys are destroying and they are maiming, and Bouquie, I don't know if you have noticed, these guys did not just loot. Looting is strategic. A result of a lack. Destruction is vengeful. These guys are not just looting, they are destroying. Did you notice? They go into a place, they've looted the store, they've pulled down the ceiling, they destroyed the whole place, burn it up. So 2 things were happening, not just looting, but destruction, right? destruction was happening, and that is scary. You see, looting, I can understand. Destruction is a result of a level of anger, right? I mean, when an armed robber visited somebody I know some years ago, they had robbed them, and then they asked the house help to sleep with the daughter of the man. And they said, we want to immortalize this experience. We want to give you a permanent scar that the house help must sleep, must have sex with the daughter of the man. They want to, the goal is to scar them permanently. Is to inflict a pain that they cannot recover from. That is not an armed robber. That is somebody making a point. Armed robbery is a tool for a higher evil for him. Looting is the voice of a higher evil, guys. That is the point. All of what we are seeing are representative. They are the logos, they are the colors, they are the face, the brand of a larger evil. Don't forget that during the xenophobia in South Africa, the one that spread to Nigeria, they were killing Nigerians. This same thing happened on a lower resolution. On a low resolution, the ShopRite was robbed. People were robbed in traffic. This same thing busting into stores, destroying stores, and all of that happened. You see, but we thought it was just another happenstance. This thing is there, dormant. When pressure is placed on it, it's going to be activated. And look at what I've said to people is this. You see, you are not a thief because you stole. You are not a thief because you stole. You steal because you are a thief. You see, you steal because you are a thief. Such that if you never had the misfortune of stealing in your lifetime, it doesn't make you less a thief. If you are a thief, whatever made you a thief. No thief is naturally born. But in all human beings, it's a sin nature. It's a wretchedness that, if nurtured, can become anything, right? Now, the human condition must be subjected to a dimension of training and guidance, not to call on that wretchedness because it's nature, right? Now, when you don't give the human life that nurturing, right, you push him or her into that wretchedness. So when it begins to supply that behavior, you should not be shocked. I say to people, we don't change. People rarely change. They get revealed. When the example I use is that when you slap your wife, it's not because of what your wife said to you. What your wife said or did can get you angry, can get you livid. But what you did is a revelation of who you are. You see, you slapped your wife because you are a slapper, right? Somebody else who doesn't know how to slap will fulfill what you feel, be as livid as you, be as angry as you, because he doesn't know how to slap, he will pick his jacket and go for a walk. You see, the difference is he doesn't know how to do it. The idea is we all perform to install capacity. Now, this is the thing. When you put pressure on a thing, the content of the thing is revealed. If you squeeze a cockroach, sees blood cannot come out. If you squeeze a cockroach, blood cannot come out. Why? It doesn't have blood. When you squeeze a car, milk will not come out. Only metal, oil, and fuel will come out.
The byproducts,
if blood comes out, there must be a human being in it. When you put pressure on a thing, the content of the thing is revealed. And so when people get into government and they say, oh, he has changed, wow. Or people say, oh, when I married my husband has changed. Your husband did not change. The pressure of marriage, the pressure of government, introduce your husband to your husband, and then introduce your husband to you. Even your husband is meeting himself for the first time. He's doing stuff he never thought he could do. The guy in government made promises. When I get to government, we will change this, we will change that. Some of those guys are sincere. They are sincere, you see? They make promises to themselves, but they break as many as they made. Why? Because they did not understand their own capacity. They got into government. The pressure of government put them under pressure that introduced them to them and then introduced them to us. Both us and the guy are meeting the guy for the very first time. You see? So those are the issues that the so-called thugs are being introduced to themselves on a daily basis. Don't forget, these guys have wives, they have husbands. And this is not to justify any wrong behavior, but it's a pointer to what we have to do. There is no way, man, there is no way agitation must precede education. No way. Every time agitation precedes education, it creates chaos, massive chaos. And
Break
so
it down,
we have
break it
left
down.
the
Break it down,
critical
break it
mass
down.
uneducated. And when I say educated, I don't mean academics. I mean informal education. I mean the consciousness of the human spirit that empowers him to experience his environment, to question it deep enough to find the options that exist in it, and to know the ones to embrace as a matter of supreme importance and urgency. By that definition, so many people are not educated, even at PhD. Why? Because they cannot experience the environment. If they can do that, they cannot question it. If they can question it, they cannot question it deep enough to find the options that exist in it, right? That is the difference between first world countries and third world countries. University education is an alternative in the United States. It's not compulsory. There is a minimum level of awareness you get between elementary school and high school. And when you are done in high school, to proceed academically is a choice. They've given you enough clarity for you to be able to decide on the most important issues of your life, including jobs, including GDP, per capita income, veteran issues, and insurance, healthcare. Every American can understand that, regardless of whether he has a BSc or a master's degree. That type of consciousness is what we need to bring in. I also believe that to do that, we will have to bring down English language, because English language is not a proof of intelligence. There are people with incredible intelligence who fail the technicality of grammar, but who pass the strength of clarity and intelligence, but who are judged by society and will never be given the attention they deserve because they cannot master another man's language. And so they will be kept at the bottom of the triangle, not because of any error of themselves, but by the imbalance of nature that is not empowering to say church instead of church. And just by saying church, it cannot marry the girl of the age. It cannot get a job at a level. It cannot be received at a level in society, right? And when you think that the Chinese professor speaks worse grammar than a Gary seller in Benin, the Chinese professor speaks worse English than a Gary seller in Benin, we need to begin to ask questions. And when we want to move, we have to know how to carry the people at the bottom of the triangle into our movement. Because in any movement in the world, whether with the high or the low, is going to come down to the people at the bottom of the triangle for that movement to be successful. It must come down to those people, right? I should pause so that maybe you want to ask some questions. Somebody said...
See, what you're saying really makes sense, because I have this logic about the spotlight. That the spotlight, an artist that becomes famous and you see a character that's coming out, it's an exhibition of a part of him that was dormant. So that's exactly what you're saying. And you know, what you're saying, when we ignore these people at the bottom of the chain, when we ignore the people, the government that has programmed them to be like that can capitalize on that, their expression, and they use them as a tool against us.
That's it. I think it is one of the biggest takeaway of the NSAS protest. And I need to also say that the protest has not ended. You know, it's just that a lot of the protesters got carried away as to what their greatest asset is. Their greatest asset was online. The whole drama did not begin offline. It started online. You got the whole world's attention online. I don't know why people are assuming defeat just because an offline experience was disrupted. The strength of the, you see, it's terrible if the strength of your battle is 3 guns. You have 3 guns that the enemy is afraid of. And then you send 2 people to a location with 2 sticks. And then the people who went with 2 sticks were beaten, defeated, and killed. And then you forgot that you had 3 guns, and your 3 guns are your greatest asset. Then you dropped the gun and started crying, and started moaning about the people that were defeated with sticks. You see? The physical movement was a secondary instrument. I'm not in the protest, but that is clear. The primary instrument of exchange for the young people was borderless. And we are in the borderless world. Here we are. This is what COVID taught all of us. So young people also need to respect what nature has gifted them with.
Yes, yes.
Because this is the dimension of borderlessness. Borderlessness is the ability of the human condition to have his highest bliss or his deepest misery away without human contact. You see, that is borderlessness. That is what ISIS used to rise. ISIS, as evil as they are, did not have marketers. They were not doing PowerPoints. They did not have sales teams. They were on one spot, and on one spot, through a borderless commitment, they organized an army from all over the world, and people were leaving first world countries. They were leaving England, France, Britain, Belgium, and they were traveling to Syria to go and pay the ultimate price in an ISIS camp, right? And they were doing that ideologically. That's borderlessness. Now, when you go into what technology has become, is that how do you continue to do business in the world today if you are going to limit your business to the limits of your geography? Look at what the Naira has become. So if you're a business person, you have to be able to earn in a way that transcends the limits of your geography by collecting money from Japan, from Europe, from America on one spot. Now, that is borderlessness. And the strength of borderlessness is tech. That is why Zoom is making money all of a sudden. If COVID had not happened, probably Zoom will die in the next 2 or 3 years. If COVID had not happened, some businesses like StreamYard, all of those companies will be dead by now, maybe. You see, the idea is that borderlessness has come. We are going to speak less and less about democracy. We are going to speak more and more about technocracy. We have come into a technocracy. And all ideas, I said this in January, I said it all through the lockdown, all ideas going forward must now be driven by technology and managed by technologists. You see, I thought that is the biggest asset of young people. Now, when they began to gather a crowd in Lekki and all over the country, they probably got distracted by that, and they began to prioritize the physical gathering, forgetting that the energy was not created from the physical. The primary was online. The physical was secondary. And so there's no way you can prioritize the secondary above the primary. And so what has happened simply is a disruption of the secondary. The primary is still potent, and young people should continue their hashtags and continue to tweet and continue to post and continue to, go viral and continue to organize and still demand what they demand. There's something called civil disobedience. There's a lot that we can do, and when we do that, it limits in fact, the thugs and the hoodlums were only able to do what they do. The so-called thugs and the hoodlums and those that were sent to come and disrupt were only able to do it because the peaceful protest, and I say this with a lot of caution, I say this with a lot of respect, not to discountenance anyone, not to discount any position, but the gathering on one spot outlived its season of value. The power of borderlessness is to be able to call out and call back, right? And that was critical. The government was asking for negotiation. I said, but negotiation is going on already. But it's a borderless negotiation. To meet physically and sit on a table is outdated. That is why you and I are talking in different locations, and we are reaching out to the world, and we are not in a conference room. You see? Yeah. So negotiations, the government should realize that we are in a borderless world now. We don't need a table. The table is now invisible. The rooms are invisible to negotiate. The young people have told you 5 or 5. Focus on that, right? So you come out and do something about that. That's all. The negotiation can happen borderlessly, right? But you know, I don't want to go too much into the details because as a public opinion user, you want to allow restraint.
Be cautious.
There's so much
Yes.
I don't want to say because I don't want to discourage anyone, and I don't want to discourage young people. But, you know, there's so much that has to be learned from what has happened. But they should not be learned from a position of defeat. They should be learned from a position of lessons and progress. You know, a forward movement, right? That we suffer setbacks here and there. And I've said it, in any movement, setback is feedback from the future. The goal is to readjust your wisdom table to avoid, you know, a deeper, larger catastrophe that is still ahead of you if today's lessons are not learned. I think those are the critical idea. Informal education. I think young people now need to get it straight. We have to pay attention to the people at the bottom of the triangle. And see, I respect non-profits more than I respect political parties, right? And I don't know any country that has been transformed because of political parties. Even America, if you watch the video, the men who built America, these guys were not about politics. They were about enterprise and nation building. They were they forced the government to adjust its legislation and its laws and policies to the initiatives, inventions, and innovations coming from the private sector. The Benjamin Franklins, the Henry Fords, you know, and all of those guys were doing incredible stuff in the private sector. I think we have to come back there. We need to get the masses of our people educated. You know what I said on the platform? I said, God forbid, if there is a revolution in Nigeria today, say a violent revolution, that should never happen in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
But
Amen.
if we have such an experience and people die and people were killed, leaders were killed, you know what's going to happen? In the first 1 week, Nigerians are going to say, oh, up, revolution, up, revolution. By the second week, Nigerians will start saying, sorry, how many Igbos died? Sorry, how many Yorubas died? Oh, how many Hausas died? Ah, it's a Yoruba coup. It's a Yoruba revolution. Ah, it's an Igbo revolution. Oh, you know why? Because there's still a foundational ignorance that permeates the vast, the walls at the bottom of the triangle, even at the highest level of the triangle. Let me attempt to depress you a bit, Bouquie. This is going to depress you. When you look at the bombing of Boko Haram in Abuja one time, called the Inyanya bombing, right? Inyanya or something like that. You know, and then there is this home that was found in Ibadan where they found a lot of human parts some years ago, right? You know what they said in the newspaper, national newspaper, front cover of every newspaper? They said forensic experts are there and they've cordoned up the place and forensic experts are working. That was a news, follow me, that was a news on the cover of every newspaper in Nigeria on that day. Now, don't forget that when I get to a country and I want to know the mood of the country, I read the cover of the newspaper. You know why? Because what the publishers put on the cover of the newspaper is the most pressing issues in the land, number one. Two, it is also a proof of the thinking of its elites, particularly in a third world country where the poor don't buy newspapers. Newspapers are bought by the elites. So if you want to know the quality of the thinking of the elites in a country or of the conscious middle class, check the cover of their newspaper. Whatever it is that made it to the cover of their newspaper is what the publisher is sure the elites will pay for and buy the newspaper for, right? And so if you have rubbish on the cover, it tells you that the elites are rubbish thinkers. If you have intelligence on the cover of the newspaper, it tells you that the elites are thinkers, excellent thinkers. In this case, what do we have on the cover of the newspaper? What we have there is forensic experts have cordoned up the place and they are doing, how is that news? So if they take all the blood samples there, what are they going to go and match it to? Is there a database of blood or DNA that when they're going to go and match it to know that, okay, it was Ajayi, Fred, Hausa, Abdul, and Okechukwu that were there at that time? What is the value of that forensic work? How is that even news at all? But you see, it made the cover of our newspapers. And I kid you not, Bouquie, the moment the elites of a country are not able to think maximally at a level, that nation is not just endangered, it's lost. And so they can sell anything to the Nigerian masses because of the weakness of its media. So the masses, I mean, the elites, however, point fingers at the media for their silly reporting when things go wrong that they don't like. They forgot that the reporting of the media is a proof of the consumption of the elites. And if you accuse the media of printing rubbish, of posting rubbish, then you are the rubbish because you are the one they write it for and you pay for it. So you need to understand that the sanctity of the media is in the hands of the elites in a third world country. If you are not buying the news, retweeting the news, making it popular, you know, camping around the news, they will have no choice but to write what you will buy because you are the buyers that keep the media going. You see? So it's interesting how we say that there are hoodlums all over Nigeria, and then all our children are in the private schools. We forgot that there will have been no successful private schools if the public schools are alive. We forgot that the price for the growth of the public school, private school industry was created by the death of the public school space. The sacrifice for having private schools in Nigeria was the public schools. And who are in the public schools now? The sons of our drivers, the sons of our stewards, with no boardrooms, with nothing going on. The best teachers are already in the private schools. The weakest teachers who hate teaching, who hate themselves, who hate the children, are the one teaching, because what pushed them into teaching was not the idea of building the nation a child at a time. They moved into teaching to feed, to live, to manage their economics. The same reason people joined the police force. Bouquie, you know, in 9/11 in America, when the building was coming down, more police officers died in the building who were not in the building. They saw it coming down and they were going inside, right? When they heard gunshots, they moved towards the gunshot. Why? They joined the police force, if necessary, to pay the ultimate sacrifice. The Nigerian police officer did not join to die. He joined to live. He joined to live. When he's hearing gunshot on the left, he's going to go right. Why? Because that gunshot is contrary to why he joined. He joined to live, right? So it's a survival instrument. That's why he joined. It's not because of the nobility of nation building. He joined as an instrument of comfort, as a succor point, as his only hope for having any type of life, because if he doesn't join that, he will have no life at all. He knows, do you know anyone that grew up in the Koi who says, I want to be a sergeant in the police force? You are in America, Bouquie. You hear kids in good schools saying, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a police officer. Because they see a police officer with a decent life, driving a good car, traveling abroad for summer. If neighbor is in Bahamas on holiday and is a police officer, they can see that all of these are possible. You can have your highest dreams and your most meaningful happiness by becoming a part of the fire force or the police force. In Nigeria, you must note that the armed robber and the police force and the so-called hoodlums are all friends in Mushin and in Ajegule. They have one thing in common. They have the same background in common, the same upbringing in common, the same school in common. They all grew up on the same street, and they all pursued the left side of life with a commitment to their economics. It was about welfare economics, not about growth or any form of sustainable development. These are the issues we have to attend to. There is a hypocrisy in our society that when we complain, that issue has been going on for years. All of a sudden, it's affecting the conscious middle class. It's affecting the conscious upper class, right? The conscious upper middle class. And so we raise our voices. But if we really want to get down to it, the kids who are affected every day for years didn't have a voice at all. And we have to correct that. That is what we have to correct. So what is going to change? will be a lot. It's going to transcend the limits of NSAS. It's going to be more, it's going to affect, in fact, I believe that the protesters, all of us protesting, we have more to change as much as the government has to change, because you must remember that Nigerian government is not outsourced, nor imported. Nigerian government was picked from
us.
And I have a parable. I call it the parable of the raw eggs. Let me share the parable here, because I don't know if we still have time. So let me quickly share this parable.
Go ahead. No, we have time.
The parable is, we have a basket of raw eggs, Bouquie. We have a basket of raw eggs. Every 4 years, we go to the basket to pick 4 raw eggs to represent the basket. Every time we break the eggs into the fry pan, they are rotten eggs. We got angry, we didn't like it. We went back to the basket 4 years after. We picked 4 raw eggs to represent the basket again. Broke them into the fry pan, raw eggs. We got angry again 4 years after. We went into the basket, picked 4 raw eggs, broke them into the fry pan, all rotten eggs. And for 50 years, for 60 years, we have continued to return to this basket to pick 4 eggs to represent the entire basket. And all of the eggs have been rotten eggs. Is 50 years not long enough? Is 60 years not long enough to begin to consider that maybe the basket itself is a basket of rotten eggs? Such that it doesn't matter how many eggs we choose to represent that egg, that those eggs will be rotten, because the basket itself is a basket of rotten eggs. That is why I believe more in the transformation through people than through leadership. I believe more in transformation through people than through leadership, because the leadership, as we all know, is a photograph of the character of the masses, because the leaders were not imported. We didn't bring the leaders from Brazil or from Zimbabwe. They were from amongst us. Even some of the protesters, when they come to the test of character, we are going to realize that if we get into power, power will amplify our own prejudices. Power will amplify our own wretchedness. And we will be shocked that we will recycle the same process that we hate. How many people have we sent into government promising change, who have come back? The same Buhari we are attacking now was the one that was crying some years ago, begging to be given power. People voted massively, pushed him in for justifiable reasons. But here we are. We are now learning that the promise of change is easier said than done. And that the things to watch out for are not determination, they are not emotional, right? And we have to come back home to begin to test, a record of competence at a level. Let me tell you one critical issue in what we have to watch out for. Critical issue. You know why our leaders fail? You know why? You know, some of our leaders go into government hoping to do the best. It's when they get there that they crack. That's not what they planned. The environment is pressurized on many grounds. But let me tell you the reason for the crack. You know what we do when we ask people to go into government? We place a demand on their capacity to supply, listen to this, Bouquie, to supply stewardship of public property. You want your governor, the president, the ministers, the civil servants to supply stewardship of public property. But they cannot do that. You know why? Because these are people who in their 40s, who after 50 years of living, after 60 years of living, after 30 years of living, they say you only need to do the same thing every day for 30 days and it becomes a habit, right?
A character,
They say that whatever you do consistently for 7 years become perfected in your life. These are not 7-year-olds. These are 30-something-year-olds, 40-something-year-olds, 50-something-year-olds, 70-something-year-olds. These guys have perfected ownership. They have perfected ownership of private property. Let me separate it. There are two variables here. There's ownership of private property. Then there is stewardship of public property. Now, the common denominator between those two variables is ownership and stewardship, right? Whether it is private property or public property, it is about ownership or stewardship. Now, you must understand that stewardship of private property must precede stewardship of public property. You must have managed to be a steward of your own property. Before you can be a steward, because the key word is stewardship. Now, you bring people into government who have perfected ownership of private property. When they get into the public space, they practice ownership. That is what they have mastered all their life. They've never been stewards of that which is theirs. You are not supposed to be the owner of anything. For what do you have that you did not receive? If indeed you receive it, why do you act as if you did not? There is a stewardship committed to you when the value you radiate was installed by the labor of somebody else, by the contribution of somebody else. That is what we call mission to society. It's the strength of the American dream. The idea that if we work hard, there is something systemic that is supposed to radiate itself and find out the beauty of our own commitment. Is a legacy bequeathed to us by those who went ahead of us. That is what it must be. It must be true for the Americans. It has to be true for the British. It must be true for the Nigerians. Why? Because it is true for the human condition that the best of us has gone ahead to hold forth and function in a season of usefulness and prepare a destiny usable for those coming after. That the intelligence prevailing today is holding up the reins so that those coming after can find comfort and inspiration. This is how we must think. This is what baffles me when we define prevailing excellence as a succor point for myself, my friends, and my family. And so when you have something, you transcend the limits of ownership and think personal social responsibility. PSR is what makes CSR useful. When you don't understand PSR, right, which is personal social responsibility, you really cannot handle jack in society. That's why even the Bible says, if you cannot handle your own family, how can you handle the church of God? Because stewardship of private property must precede stewardship of public property. And so when you are looking for public officials, you are looking for those who have demonstrated stewardship of that which is so-called theirs, which is justifiably theirs. Let me give you an example. You see someone in a home hiring a house help. This person is a millionaire. He can afford to pay the house help 200,000. He can afford it because, Bouquie, if you pay anyone anything and what you pay cannot do three things, you have just kept a slave in your house. Number one, whatever you pay someone must be able to assist them to handle their basic needs, what to eat, what to wear, going out and coming back. Number two, what you pay them must empower them to put something aside as savings for the future, no matter how little. Then number three, what you pay them must empower them to bless someone in their area of influence, their cousin, their brother, their son, or their daughter, right? The moment income cannot do those three, it's no longer an income, it's slavery. And so when you pay someone 25,000, you know you can afford 200,000 easily, but you pay 25,000 because that is industry standard. In other words, you are paying to the level of the person's poverty, not to the strength of your own pockets or to the weight of your character. To you, therefore, the contents of your humanity is completely disconnected from the reality of the other person, such that you have done well when you pass the test of technicality, not of essence, not of meaning.
And heart.
Jonathan, not of heart, right? It means on a daily basis, you are governed by your head alone, not your heart. The head kills, the heart molds. And so you want to connect the two and ensure that every day you breathe and act, you are working from inside out, not outside in. When you pay industry standard, you are regulated from outside. And Jesus said, it is not what comes from outside that defiles the man. It's what comes from the inside, because life is inside out. And we have to come to that place of strength, guys. We have to come to that place of strength. So I say to people, pay the house help. Why can't you pay 100,000 naira if you can afford it? Now, don't get me wrong. If all you can afford is 10,000, then don't brag. Call the person and say, I can't afford too much now. Take this 10. I'm going to change this. Just give me some time. And then, appeal to the dignity of the person. You paid nothing, and then you are surprised that the person is doing rubbish. You are getting exactly what you paid for, right? Yeah. I mean, how do you bring a house help from who grew up in an amala joint? A house help who grew up who they wake her up with curses. Olori buruku eda. That is how they wake her up on a daily basis for the past 9 years or 13 years. They curse her to get her off bed. They beat her with hot iron. She grew up serving people, being abused in an amala joint. They hit her bum, touch her breast in amala joint. Then she became a house help at age 14 or at 15, and then she's in your house. And then you want her to arrange the house like you, to put this, to know the difference between ice cream spoon, soup spoon, teaspoon, and to know the difference between
salad fork,
white glass and for white wine and glass for red wine, and to know how to arrange your sitting room and all of that. Do you know what it took for you to be able to do that? Do you know what it took? What it took was your education, your masters, your BSc, your movies you've been watching since you were a kid.
Intentionality, yes.
All of that made you who you are. Now you want somebody from Amala Joint to just figure it out. If she can really arrange that house, it means she can think like you. If she can really think like you, will she be a house help in your house?
She doesn't need you.
She will be a madam somewhere else giving instructions. You see, if you want somebody that can arrange your house well like you, hire me and pay me 25 million a month. Man, I will arrange your house. You won't even believe it. Hire me. When you hire me and you pay me 20 million a month, you will see the best of them. You won't even know anybody's in the house. You see, if you go pick up a girl in Amala Joint, you are doing one thing: the evil of calling what is easy for you as what is easy. I've said it a million times. Never confuse what is easy for you to do for what is easy. Some things are easy for you by the graces of your life. It doesn't make them easy. I used to be like that. I used to judge people in my office to work at my pace, to think at my pace, do this, do that, do that, do that. And I had to grow up. I had to mature to the level where I realized, no, these people cannot express what I express. A lot has made me who I am. When I look back behind me, I see a lion. When they look back, they see a chicken. We cannot run the same way, right? Yeah. So I have to accept that and humble myself to know that because it is easy for me to do, does not make it an easy thing to do. It is on that fairness, on that equilibrium, that we can build society. That is how statesmen must think. That is where we must all come to and operate from. That is what is missing in our day-to-day articulation of value. And my greatest, testimonial from NSAS is that now we are having the right conversation. All over, check all the platforms, we are having the right conversations. Now, 2023 is going to be the loudest beginning of change. It will not be the change. And I say that with all humility and sincerity, with deep respect. 2023 will be the loudest, probably the most effective beginning of sustainable change. It will not be the change. The earlier, you see, you have to understand the elasticity of an idea. You see, if you have a pencil in your hand, its damage value is predictable, right? And the pencil can never perform what an AK-47 can perform. The AK-47 cannot perform like a grenade. The Kia, as beautiful as the Kia machine is, good car, it will never perform like a Rolls Royce, right? So the Rolls Royce, as awesome as it is, will never take off one day. The fan and the plane can share the methodology of a blade, but the fan with its blade will never take off. What it takes to fly is not in the fan, even though it has a blade. You see, in the same way, Ideas have contents. And within 2 years, if we understand the problem of Nigeria, to think that 2023 is the solution is in itself naivety, is deeply naive. 2023 is not going to save it. So let us focus on what we can achieve by 2023, a fantastic, amazing beginning. That's what we can achieve. Now, what does that mean? The first thing it means is that we can create a level playing field and give birth to a type of assurance based on the quality, based on the human capacity, right, on the table of progress, right? And so voting will be key in 2023. Voting will be key. Now, let me break that down. I don't know how much time we have, but can I break that down?
Go ahead. I don't cut off by 1 hour.
Great. So if we look at 2023, voting is key. But this is the thing, Bouquie. Voting is an arrested quantity because the power of PVC, my problem with PVC is that it is weak, extremely weak in the hands of a bigger, deeper fiber. That fiber is that a PVC will only make a choice between presented alternatives.
Options, yes.
There is something else that controls the options, and that is party administration. That is where the options come out from. And what party administration creates is what PVC we choose from. So if party administration gives you too full, PVC is arrested already. It means PVC will be making a choice between two foods. You see? So how do we evolve the right options, not the power of PVC? PVC is important. We must protect that, right? But there's a prerequisite to PVC, and that is how options emerge. And that is the real game, because once we lose the game of options, the choice is arrested. The PVC is arrested. So where do we start from? I think what has been missing all these years in Nigeria is that we have failed to understand that voters are inventable on any day. You can create your voters. You can actually invent your vote. You can map it. You can predict how many people are going to be in voting age in 2 years' time, who are not in voting age today. You can focus on everybody that is 16 today, who will be 18 by 2023. How many people are 17 today? Who will be? And interestingly, some of your adversaries are not that detailed. But let me leave that. So you can decide.
Wait. Don't leave that. Don't leave that, please. Please. See, because I'm okay. Go ahead, please. Don't leave that. Go into it.
I hear you. So the adversaries, you must understand the character of corruption. Corruption does not have a classroom. It only models. And it recycles. You don't need to see, nobody need to teach you to be corrupt. You just need to see the effect of corruption. Good cars, good shoes, girls, boys, and you will get it straight away. But wisdom must have a classroom. You can't naturally learn wisdom. You cannot just get understanding like that. So if somebody, so that is why the cost of making wisdom go viral is higher than the cost of spreading foolishness. You don't need formal training to know how to be stupid. You just need to be born and to observe, and you'll be stupid. You don't need formal training to know how to be foolish. You don't need formal training to know how to get angry. Nobody called you and said, come, sit down. Let's show you how to get angry. Nobody did that. Nobody taught you how to keep malice or how to be unforgiving. Right? Nobody taught you that. So you don't need formal training for all of these things. But to democratize wisdom, to scale intelligence, to make prudent go viral, for that, we need data. For that, we need a table of analysis. We need a war room. We need a wisdom room, right? And the Nigerian evil enterprise has been built on the unguardedness of modeling, not classroom. So there's little science that goes into organizing the bottom of the triangle. The bottom of the triangle is the strength of evil in any society. Yeah. You cannot, the machinations at the top are dependent on the manipulation of the bottom. right?
Yeah.
And so the bottom is where the game is. And to go there, the so-called adversaries go there unguardedly, throwing money
Crumbs.
and modeling crumbs, right, that attend to human wretchedness, not to humanity. You know, people have told me, you know, people don't want to hear. People don't want to hear. People just want to see money. I said, if it's true, the protest should not be successful in its peaceful format at all. You see, the 1 week of peaceful protest showed
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks of peaceful protest showed that behavior can be governed with the right clarity and intelligence and organization. That is one of the loudest, you know, communication of the protest. The fact that we can meet evil in its game. So jollof rice was shared, chicken was shared, food was shared, but more than that, ideas should have been shared. So ideas was not shared. We were sharing, we got their attention. We played the game of evil. You see, let's break this down. Evil is a tool. When you are too good to engage evil, you are naive and cannot win. You have to understand that evil is an instrument. To operate at a level, you must be strong enough to provide mentoring for evil. If your wisdom cannot mentor evil, then you cannot manipulate evil itself. If your intelligence and your wisdom cannot provide unlock inspiration in evil, right? That is the only reason, Bouquie, that Jesus could achieve his goal. How did God perfect the work of redemption? He placed his agenda in the character of evil. Jesus had to die and he had to be killed, and God does not kill. So who is going to kill? The devil is the one that comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy. So God planted his agenda in the character of the devil. That means he engaged evil. And as the devil was working tooth and nail, God was working without doing nothing. And when the devil was done and said, I've finished, I've put him on the cross, God said, I'm finished too.
Thank you.
And the devil said, you can't be finished, you did nothing. I did everything. He said, you don't get it. When you do everything, I do everything. Because I have locked my agenda as a virus in your character. And so therefore, at the height of your stupidity, I have a deeper agenda running right inside your arrogance and your cockiness. When the custodians of good cannot covert their agenda and run it in the character of evil, there's a limit to how we can defeat it. And that is a wisdom that good people need to understand. I tell my Christian friends, why did Jesus say be wise as a serpent? Do you know what a serpent is? The serpent is a cunning animal. That is the most dominant trait. And he said, be gentle as a dove, but be wise as a serpent. You got to beat him on his own game. And a flash of that was radiating at the protest, because the food that the politicians used, the protesters used it. The welfare economics that the politicians used, the protesters used it, right? That is where the politicians actually stop. They don't talk to them, they just feed them. Then the protesters overcopied the politicians. They underrated how much the politician's character has affected today's youth as well. Because we also behaved to type. We were just feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding. We were not sharing and teaching and disseminating. And a lot of the grammar on the stage was ministering to the emotions of the people. I say that with all humility. It wasn't ministering to the strength of their thinking and to their understanding of the mission. That is something we have to go and pieces on the table. Yes, I know a lot of people may not be happy with that. You know, they may say maybe I'm criticizing. That's not what I'm doing. We're just trying to break this thing down. We have to go in and offer grassroots education. Grassroots education. Some young men called me yesterday and said, PK, we want to do that. I said, look, calm down. Go to your street now. All this one you want to come and do, you want to register NGO. I said, calm down. Go to your street. Go and start a program for young people on your street. Create a curriculum for political education in Pidgin. Send it to me. I will help you audit it. And then send it to the people. Create a curriculum for enterprise education, not just for political education, for enterprise education, for political education, and then for self-awareness education, right? That is the quality of their thinking and the strength of their character. Bouquie, I did a research some years ago. You know what I did? We took 4 area boys, boisterous, noisy. We paid them and blindfolded them and put them in a bus. We told them we were taking them somewhere. It was an experiment. And all the journey to where we were taking them, they were talking, laughing, boisterous, making noise in the bus. We got to Sheraton Hotel. We took them to the lobby of Sheraton Hotel, still blindfolded. They were making noise. They didn't know where they were. They sat in the lobby and we removed the blindfold. If you see the way they were quiet. They were so, nobody told them to behave. You know why? Because all of that thuggery, all of that boisterousness, all of that noise cannot thrive in order. It is rather threatened and arrested by the accurate arrangement of things. That is the meaning of order, the accurate arrangement of things. Now, all of that behavior thrives in chaos. When the environment is upside down and all of that. So we got it. We knew that the nuisance of the so-called hooligan is not because there's no order inside of him, but is playing to the demands of his environment, such that if we condition the environment, we can regulate him inside out. You see?
Wait. See, the people at the back, they can't hear. So you're saying that in every human being, there is that, it is the side you call out that manifests.
That's it.
So, and I would, sorry to cut you, but you said something about the protest. You said that the people, the younger people, they didn't have a mission.
Yes.
And even the good book says that before you build a house, you sit down and count the cost. And a lot of people don't understand that anything you engage in is battle. It is warfare. So people don't see it like that. So what if you were to talk to them now, what would you say to them? Because it was obvious, because now I'm seeing tweets of people saying, oh, you know what? I think it's time for us to sit down and talk. I'm like, yo, you know, we're not criticizing anybody. But if you were to be, because we had a strength. I'm saying we because I was part of it, even though I wasn't there. We had a strength, which was that we didn't have a leader. And it was, I think, one of our greatest weaknesses as well.
It is.
So I want you to break that down, because I know that offline we had a conversation like that. What could we have done differently?
Yes, because the truth is, the protest had the advantage. The strength of the protest was, one of the key strengths of the protest was no leadership. Right? But like you said, it was also one of the greatest weakness of the protest, because no leadership should not mean no representation. They are two different things. You know, representation and the office of leadership are two different things. And if you say that everybody is a leader, then by your admission, you have agreed to the wisdom of representation. Then you should be able, from all the leaders, get a representation to have conversation. But this is what I even believe. For me personally, I did not think that a negotiation table was necessary. I think the call for negotiation was a distraction. To me, a negotiation was already going on, albeit without a table, in that the people have given you, the protesters have given 5 of 5. That's the beginning of negotiation. They're on your side to show that you are on the same table. Do something. Arrest somebody. I mean, form something, start acting. That is all, you know. Maybe the 5 of 5 should have come with decent, usable, elastic ultimatums, and then there should be adjustment on our side.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? What I mean by that is, if I tell you that you should do this in 3 days, I should also tell you what I will do in 3 days if you do it, right? So if I would say, you should do this in 3 days, and for that, I am going to give you 2 hostages, or I'm going to withdraw from this place, or I'm going to do this. And in 3 days, if we don't see this, we are going to regroup, or we are going to do this. You know, I don't want to use the terms in negotiation because a lot of the environment of negotiation is violent.
This is negotiation. It is what it is. Yes.
So that is what it should be. But this is what I believe. I believe while there is no leader representing the group, leadership should have been about providing direction, voice, and clarity to the people at the bottom, right? So in that, the idea of no leadership was a challenge there, because everybody was going with the emotion of gathering, you know, and then keeping the place peaceful, sweeping. I asked myself, if there was no leadership, how was the sweeping happening? How was the cleaning happening? How was the food? Is there somebody how are they happening? How was money being collected from all over the world? People were giving and all of that. So it seems to me that the idea of no leadership was more of a brand as opposed to a functional reality. It was more like a comforting instrument to give a brand name to an agenda that is entirely not practical, because there's leadership already. Why we keep saying there's no leadership will be a good narrative for managing the character of the protest, but in terms of the operational dynamics, there was leadership. Why do we always say there's no leadership? If there's no leadership, there will be nothing going on there.
Chaos,
there is leadership, right? There will be chaos. So there's leadership, right? We just used it for branded purposes by saying there's no leadership. There's leadership. And so because we're saying there's no leadership, we restrain ourselves from acting with leadership capacity, with demonstrating leadership, because we wanted to live true to the idea that there's no leadership. And we have no point to prove to anybody. You know, that's a tactical error. You don't owe anybody, whether you have leadership or not. If you don't want to negotiate, tell them you don't want to negotiate. You don't need to say you don't have leadership. There's nothing without leadership that thrives. So don't let us camp around a myth, because there was leadership. And the real leadership that was missing was, in critically looking at it, was providing, you know, organizing. Yes, for the people at the bottom of the triangle, especially, who were all over the place. That is the lowest amongst us. You see, one of the things I credit first world countries for is they have mastered 2 things: the art of identifying the best among them and ensuring they stay in front of them without losing control of the worst of them. You see?
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
The best you see in first world countries is that they have mastered the art of identifying the best of them, and then how they grow all the way to stay in front of them without losing the worst of them. So in America, there are terrible thinkers, terrible, ignorant people. But America has mastered how to put the best of them in front and the worst of them at the back. And that is what is happening in every third world country. You see, here in most third world countries, in every first world country, rather, but in every first world country, third world country, what has happened is the worst of us are in front. The best of us are behind, right? Now, when we are speaking about change, and we are calling young people out to change, right? Then we need to disconnect from that equation. We need to get the best of us in front, right? Without losing control of the worst of us. of the least of us, right? The least of us, we must carry along. So the hooligans, the hoodlums are assets ignored. Assets ignored. And when you ignore an asset, it becomes a liability, right? So the political class understand that they cannot ignore them. So they don't ignore them. But what the political class don't do is they don't carry them along. They use them and they don't carry them along. The young people at the protest also use them. They did not carry them along. And I say that with all humility. I'm not criticizing. I'm not pulling the young people down. But they also played the same card, right? The masses was engaged. You got a crowd, but no education. The summary is agitation must not precede education. Education must precede agitation. And we mean informal education. We mean consciousness. And part of that should start now. And I think that there is a hubris here. There is an incredible positive hubris. I think the Nigerian youths from age 60, every young mind from age 60 below, have an incredible opportunity to create a massive movement by 2023. The goal of that movement, right, will alter the political dynamics, right? It will completely alter the political dynamics. But the salvation of Nigeria, with all humility, I can prostrate to say this, the salvation of Nigeria is not in our politics. It's not in our politics. Our politics, see, politicians lie. That is true in America, in Britain, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Anyone that wants to change Nigeria and says that, you know, is going to eliminate, it's like when you say you want to eradicate poverty, it's either you are very ignorant, or you are very naive, or you are a fool. It's one of the three. When you say we will eradicate poverty, if you say we will eradicate racism, you are either ignorant, you are naive, or you are a fool, or you are branded into a systemic instrument to keep the idea you are fighting, to perpetuate the idea you are fighting. In other words, you are on the side of the evil you are fighting. If you say you want to end rape, let's end rape, you are ignorant. You cannot end rape. You cannot end racism. You cannot end poverty. The only way to do that is to kill the devil. Foolishness is a constant. Somebody must be foolish for wisdom to continue to have value. The day evil ends, wisdom will end as well. You must understand that there is no characterization of good without the weight of evil. And so the goal in any country is not about defeat of evil. Defeat of evil is not the evaporation of evil, it's the containment of evil. So what you want to do is to contain evil and reduce its capacity, you know, continuously. To say you will take it away is not realistic. So what is practical is not, that is why when in 2015, when the Buhari government came, the APC came out to say change, 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 I told everybody, go and check my tweets. I said, change can never happen through these people. You see, for so many reasons. It was obvious, but we get so emotional about things. It's not just possible, right? I didn't vote for Buhari, but I must be honest to say I did not vote for Goodluck Jonathan as well. You see, because I vote for somebody I knew we lose the election, she cannot win, but I voted for her, right? Just to satisfy my conscience, right? Call that right or wrong, but that was what I did, okay? Now, because in 2015 we had an option. Let nobody fool you, Bouquie. It wasn't just PDP or APC. We had a candidate in 2015 who promised more. People were branded into the narrative of PDP and APC. If we had camped around the right candidate, even if she doesn't win, she would have been a major force. We had a candidate in 2015 who I believe was a far better alternative to the two candidates of Goodluck Jonathan. But, you know, I'm not a politician. I wasn't in that space. But back to the issue, I think that if we begin to organize now and begin to start community work, and begin to create a conscious following. First of all, we need to define what our ideology of change is. Young people need to come together. Bouquie, let me say one of the saddest things going on right now, and which the protests also reveal: the pettiness and inordinate ambition of our so-called young leaders. Can you see the infighting that started from this one want to claim they are the ones that started it? This one want to say they are the leaders. This one want to stay in front. This one want to look at the last election. We had Mogalu, we had Obix, Zekwelesi, there was Showore, there was Feladrotoye, there was quite a number of them, young people. These guys could not form one voice. And I'm not criticizing, when I say these guys, I don't mean the candidates. I mean the so-called Nigerian youths. They could not agree on, okay, Fela represent us, or Kingsley Mogalu stay in front. Showore, you know, they played all kinds of craftiness. The entire vote of the young people was not up to 100,000. They divided their own votes by themselves.
You know that when an enemy attacks you, the first thing an enemy does is they look at you and your weakness. And there's an art of war called divide and rule.
Yes.
And that's supposed to be what the enemy does to you. They divide you so they can conquer and rule you.
Yes.
But if you're divided amongst yourself already, the enemy is like,
that is it. And that works on instruments such as prejudices, instruments such as interest, inordinate ambitions. I have asked myself, Bouquie, of all of us that are shouting change, how many of us are prepared to see this change at all costs, even if it's not in our lifetime, or even if our names are not written on its cover? You know, I've spoken to many change agents, and I could hear the sound of ambition in their voice. The change they seek is the one that has their name on it. You see, they are not ready to bequeath to the future a reality that transcends their own legacy. They are not ready. And so that is why all our thinking is always short term, short term, short term. How do you destroy something for 60 years and you want to fix it by 2023? How is that going to be possible? You know, so we have to think long term. Personally, I think that the change of Nigeria is minimum 30 years old. 30 years. Sorry, not 30 years old. 30 years of work, right? 30 years, minimum. However, there is a dimension of change that we can break into immediate change, short-term change, long-term change, legacy change. So I have what I call immediate change. We have what we call short-term change, long-term change. Then we have the legacy change. The one we talk about most of the time is the legacy change. We will be shouting things that cannot happen except in 50 years. You know, we want Nigeria to be as beautiful as this. We want this to happen. Those are legacy-sensitive changes. They can't happen in your lifetime.
Immediate.
You know, the immediate ones. So for me, the immediate goal that we can do now is to create unison with the voice of the Nigerian youths. Create unison, one voice. Number two, create a conscious following, right, of young people, conscious following. And that will come not by sophistication and grammar, you know, not by the test of English language and where you school, where you did not school, but a movement of the young and the old, the exposed and the unexposed. You know, you look at experience that a church organizes every year in Nigeria. Do you know they can never be successful at the TBS to have a show all night on Friday if they did not organize the people at the bottom of the triangle, carry them along, give them space in the planning, show them their own role, sell the big picture to them, reward them at that level, and there is synergy and cooperation. That is how who can believe that an all-night event can happen in TBS all night? You see, that is not to give credit to anyone. That is why I did not mention anybody's name. But you know what I'm talking about. But we can organize like that.
what you're saying is so true, because I had this campus storm I used to do back in the day.
I
And then what
remember.
I would do, yeah, and we used to come out 20,000 kids and all that. We will go work with all the fellowships on ground,
Good.
and we will also call all the cult boys, their
That's it.
leaders, and
That's
then let
it.
them know, come on, we're not fighting you on your territory. We just want this to be done. Yeah,
Yes,
so
and stronger now, because it is national, is to craft an ideological position. You know, what I call a political document. We craft a political document that can be taught, right? And when I say taught, I don't mean the limits of English language. I mean taught in Yoruba. Taught. I did a show, like I did an Insta Live about 2 days ago. I've already sent it to some people to break it down into Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa for me, to look for who can break it into Ishan. Let me give you a perfect example of informal education. BBC Hausa service. BBC Hausa service has been going on for decades. Do you know the average northerner is by far more politically conscious than the master's degree holder in the South? Because there are a lot of graduates in the South who will be lucky to watch CNN on a daily basis, right? To see BBC on a daily basis, because they have to have cable television. You see, the guy in the North, the average guy in the North has a transistor, and his great-grandfather, his grandfather, his father, plus him, have been listening to BBC Hausa service for tens of years. Guess what? The same thing you watch on Al Jazeera, the things you watch, those guys in their transistor, they understand Republican Party, Democratic Party. All the news you get on the CNN, they get it in Hausa. They get a lot of it in Hausa. A lot of the politics in Nigeria, they get it in Hausa. And so the average northerner is highly informed on political, socio-economic and political issues. That is why, go check it. Out of all your leaders in Nigeria, right, the only time you have had non-northerners in power, and I'm not selling ethnic sentiments at all, I'm just showing something important. The only time you have had non-northerners in power was almost accidental. I'll give you an example. You got Obasanjo because Muritala Mohammed was dead, right? You got Shonekon because there was a June 12th catastrophe and the Yoruba man had to fill the post. You got an Obasanjo the second time because it was obvious June 12th was stolen. A Yoruba president had to be president to appease the West, right? You got a Goodluck Jonathan because a northerner died in office and his VP had to take over. So you tell me, when you have contested wheat for wheat, game for game against the northern political movement and you have won. That does not, I'm a Nigerian. I'm not tribal, and I'm just trying to show you that the North, as far as I'm concerned, have deep political education, you know. And why we accuse them, they failed in many ways, probably deliberately, to keep an economic condition, right, and perpetuate it, a very weak one amongst their people. But when it comes to voting, they don't think twice. The average northerner knows who to vote for in any election. And they don't vote on ideological terms. They vote essentially on ethnic terms, and they vote essentially on religious terms, right? Symposium discussion for another day. Now, I'm not selling agenda to the South to say, no. We don't need a Southern agenda. There's no need for an Eastern agenda or a Northern agenda. What is needed is a Nigerian agenda. And a Nigerian agenda has to be built on the weight of our humanity. Every human being has blood running inside of him, including Adolf Hitler, including Bin Laden. And when you speak the weight of the human condition in every man, and you organize around that level, economic organization, emotional organization, I mean, mental weaponry, you know, spiritual clarity, but most importantly, on ideological grounds, on a political document. When you think like that, don't underestimate how many people you can bring to your side. That is the work, and that is a work for unknown names, unknown boys and girls. If you are seeking attention and you want to be popular, you will not embrace such work. You won't roll up your sleeves and get to work. You will take shortcuts that will keep you on a political label. Let me say this out in the public space. The next time somebody comes out to you to say he wants to run for office, you can see, question that person. How can this one win election in Nigeria? It's either he's ignorant of how elections are won in Nigeria, or he has an advantage. Let me tell you the advantage. People earn money for doing PowerPoint in America for the title of ex-presidential aspirant. So let me let you know that contesting election and losing is an advantage. So don't think everybody contesting is trying to win. Some don't want to win. They just want to earn the title of ex-presidential candidate, ex-presidential aspirant. That title in their profile opens doors globally. It gets them into conference rooms. It gets them honorariums. It gets them into negotiation tables. It gives fees. It gives all kinds of advantages. So don't think that when they lost the election, they lost. They didn't lose. Depending on the agenda, they didn't want to win the election. They came to win a higher profile. And by contesting, they've won that profile, and they've gone back to their constituency to use that profile to build another type of reputation for themselves that transcends your own peace and your own progress as a people. What about that?
Wow. Wow. So now, okay,
yeah, go ahead, Bouquie. Go ahead, Bouquie. No, go ahead.
What we're talking about is success, which means success is relative. So let's go back to this protest, because now you're saying that if I set out to do so and I succeed, that is success to me. You know, so like you're saying that this person didn't even want to be president, just wanted the name tag. Okay. Yeah. So what do you think? Two things I want to talk about before we wrap up. I want to talk about our president and his speech and all that as it relates to us as Nigerians, the insensitivity and all that. And then I want to talk about what was the success in this protest. I know you touched on it, but what was the success that we can capitalize on and put into motion?
Great. First of all, the president did not say anything. You know, it is the most dispassionate speech, lacks empathy. I didn't think that what the president came out to do, what the president was supposed to come and do was to end trust. No, I didn't think he was supposed to come and, you know, take a position. No, I think he just needed to show up and demonstrate that I hear you, you know, and I don't agree with all that has happened, but I hear you. Because like I said, you can't slap me and tell me how to cry. You know, if I'm crying, I mean, it's because if you don't want me to cry, you don't slap me. If you slap me, I have to be able to cry. And then if the crier must also know that I can't cry forever. If somebody takes your phone and you are crying, if you really need that phone, you can cry initially, but after a point you must say, I must stop crying and go get my phone and get strategic and start thinking. But let's leave that. So I think the president did not give the right speech, but his speech though showed me that the wisdom table of the president and the presidential handlers do not really take the life and property of Nigerians seriously. I learned that from that speech more than ever. It's so clear that the handlers of the president and his wisdom table as a whole are completely disconnected from the lives of the Nigerian people, from their yearnings, the expectations of the Nigerian people. Yes, please. Yes, please.
So let's piggyback on what we just said now. But what if that was the point? What if to them that speech was successful because it caused division, It angered people. And you know, when you're angry, you cannot focus. You cannot think, because now everything is the part of the brain that processes pain is the same part that processes faith. So when you're angry, you're distorted, you don't have clarity, you can't run. So what if that was the intention of the speech? To take our focus away from a bigger picture that's brewing on the background.
So I think that it is difficult to fault evil strategically. If you want to fault evil, you can fault evil by his conscience. You can fault evil by his heart. You can fault evil by his feeling, by his inability to communicate that, because all of that is numb. But we shouldn't fault evil strategically, because that is evil in itself. So for me to be able to, I'm not in the CIA, but I'm a futurist, and I'm able to put numbers together, and I can use available information to create positions, right? I'm not in the wisdom table of the president. I am not in their room. But if I understand evil very well, I know evil understand double jeopardy, which is a concept in law. That
you cannot punish a man the same time twice for the same offense.
So evil knows that the people are already angry. To make them angry is double jeopardy. To make them, people are already divided, terribly divided. They've achieved that already. Bouquie, let me say what I really believe. I really believe that a lot of what happened on the shooting and all of that was not happenstance. It was a design. Who designed that? I don't know. Who managed that? Symposium discussion. But I would say freely that, it's like people ask me, they ask, how can people not see that, how to fix the power problem in Nigeria? Our government, they don't think. I say, you see, that is the problem. How can you think they don't think? What makes you think you know better than them? I'm not saying there's so much wrong with them, but trust me, not being able to think is not one of them. If they don't know how to think, how are they controlling you? I say, so they are thinking. Don't think they don't think. It is their motive and their agenda you should be talking about. But don't say, there was a guy who was on the House of Representatives head at the time who was a graduate of Harvard. So what are you saying? How can you say a graduate of Harvard does not think? How did he function in Harvard? Do you know what it means to pass, to be a graduate of Harvard? That's a lot of capacity. When that kind of person is unguarded, it's not for lack of intelligence. He has another idea running, you see? He has another idea running. So what I believe is that, I didn't think that they wanted to get us more angry. I think they are actually incapable of feeling that, of creating that level of empathy, of sitting in that moment. You see, there is a sense in which you can be around and not be present. You see, I think the evil grows to a level where you become incapable of two things. One, honest self-evaluation. And two, emotional connection to the issues. You become incapable of demonstrating empathy, compassion. I think that was what happened in the design of the speech of the president. I didn't think they were trying to get us more angry. Yes, Bouquie.
But they were trying to do something, because if we look at this thing critically, Uncle Kunle, let's look at it. In that speech, he did offer condolences to the people that lost their lives in the line of duty.
I hear you.
So if he consciously ignored what the entire world is talking about, I don't think that's lack of empathy. I think that was strategic.
You know what I think? Honestly, I will not disagree with you. It is possible that is the scenario. But what I'm also trying to say is, if I have a shoe and a key holder and a tin of milk in my bag, and you asked me for a milk and I brought out a shoe, then you will accuse me of not hearing you, right? You say, he's not listening to me. I want milk, and and you have milk in your bag, and you have a key holder in your bag, and then you have a shoe. Why did you give me a shoe? I asked for milk and you have the milk. That is one scenario. Scenario B is I don't actually have the milk in my bag. I don't have the milk. I have a key holder and I have a shoe. No milk. Then number 2, I am tone deaf to hearing milk. What I have in my bag is key holder and shoe. No matter what you say to me, that's all I'm going to bring out. So you asked me for milk, and I brought out the key holder, and I brought out the shoe. Because on the no matter what is going on, if you say 2 plus 2 and all I have is 9, I will say 9. 3 times 4, I will say 9. 4 plus 4, I will say 9. Because all I have is 9. But what is that 9? What is that key holder? What is that shoe? My interest. My interest. It means that I have room only for my interest. So there is a blindness I can have that makes me incapable of hearing you, except to the extent that I achieve my goal. I have my goal, and that's what I want to achieve. That is another scenario. Yes. Now, which of these scenarios is at play? I must be honest to say I don't know. It is possible they did that as a strategy. If I put myself as devil's advocate and I am in a war room of evil, right? I will not do that. Even the Bible says servants of darkness act as servants of righteousness, right? Evil itself, when it's very robust, can take the garment of good, right? To penetrate. It should cost good. It should cost evil nothing to act as good. The more good evil can act, the more penetrative it becomes. So on a common table of evil, I know that the easy thought is to act good. So I think it is easy for the government to have acted that out if it was their priority. I think we underestimate how much the government is incapable of doing. And one of the things I believe the government is incapable of doing is honest evaluation. I believe the government is incapable. Like I said, it's easy to judge evil strategically, right? But the best way to see evil and its failure is when you assess it on the lines of virtue, good, kindness, empathy. Evil will fail because that is why it is evil. It cannot connect that. But on the strategically, evil is always on point because that's also what defines evil, right? Yes. So, but I agree with you. It could be either ways. And we're really not sure. Yeah. But whichever way, you know, whether you kill me deliberately or you kill me by mistake, accident. I am still a dead person. I'm not going to wake up next week because you killed me by mistake. So whether the government was doing it intentionally or not, right, the outcome is still devastating for Nigerians. It was depressing for Nigerians. It's not what we wanted to hear. But I am in that school of thought that we cannot continue to expect the best of our experiences from the sanity of the government. I think that we have to begin to understand that we are largely on our own, and a call to mental weaponry and clarity from the inside will create more value for the Nigerian people than waiting for the government to regulate itself. Nobody gives you what you deserve. You get what you negotiate, and what you negotiate intentionally. And we got to be very, very clear about that, you know. So for me, if we embrace that, you know, there's so much capacity we can create on this side, you know. On another level, you know, maybe today is not the day for that. And on another level, I also understand the wretchedness of the people in government. Some of the people in government mean well, you know. Some of the people, I don't want to mention names, some of them mean well. But like I said,
in their sleep.
Yeah, the government is, they are asleep. Some are even awake. The mistake they made was to accept responsibility for a complexity they are not wired for. You see? So it's not for you to come into government. Somebody told me he wanted to run for office one time. I said, your mind is too gentle for the complexity of government. I said, we need street capital in government, not this. You see, the evil that is jogging in government does not require your doviness. You are too much of a dove to function in government. You see, that is the problem. And that is something change agents have to realize. You don't give the office to people because they are good people. Good people cannot change Jack. You see, we don't need good people. We need street capital. We need clarity, intelligence. If you are president of a country, no matter how good you are going to do something. You are like a soldier. A soldier will go to war and he will kill. You know, the army of God, the Israeli army, under Moses, were killing, right? They had an army and they had to kill, right? I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's the character of being a soldier. Once you are a soldier, whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist, if you are a soldier, you are going to kill. Now, the law of your faith may say thou shalt not kill. But when you are killing as a soldier, you are not breaking that law, even though you are killing. You see? So politics requires a level of dynamism that transcends the limits of good. And let me shock you, Bouquie. Maybe I should not even say it, but say it. That one, go, say it. You see, Bouquie, the highest level of evil is good. You see, good is worse than evil. You see, good is not God, first of all. I don't know. It's the time to explain that I'm worried about. See,
go ahead. See, yeah.
So there is so much.
Wait, good is not evil. Good is not evil. Break it down.
Yes, I said
good is worse than evil.
God. Good is higher than evil.
Yes,
in the character of virtue. Yes. You can start with what is bad. You can move to what is worse. Then you move to what is evil. Then you move to the absence of evil. Before you move to God or virtue. Now, the absence of evil is not better than evil. Is what is evil is branded evil. The absence of evil, that evil that is absent is popular evil. In other words, Bouquie, there are two types of evil. There's popular evil, there's unpopular evil. The one we know, armed robber, corruption, witches, wizard, is popular evil. That is the evil in the public space. Any dummy can figure that out. There's unpopular evil that nobody suspects. We even hug it. We even fund it. And I'll give you some examples in the world. Terrible evils in the world. First one is Syria. Remember, there was a time when the head of Syria, Assad, the president of Syria, was accused of using chemical weapons. He actually used chemical weapons, right, on his people.
Yeah.
And then the first world nations, the allied nations, United States, Britain, France, Germany, they all rose and said, no. You can't use chemical weapons. If you use chemical weapons, we're going to raid, we're going to attack Syria. We're going to join the war. We're going to stop you. Blah, blah, blah. And guess what? The whole world supported that. Yes, no chemical weapons, no chemical weapons. It looked like a testimony. It looked like a good thing. What an evil. Let me tell you why it is an evil. These people have been killing themselves with guns and AK-47 and grenades. You guys didn't come out to say you will attack. Then the guy used a chemical weapon. And then all of you came out to say, no. In other words, you are not really trying to stop the war in Syria. You are just trying to determine how they die. In other words, yeah, you can continue to die, but don't kill yourself with chemical weapon. Kill yourself with AK-47 and grenade. That is evil. When you go and talk to the people of Syria, they don't care whether it's chemical weapon or AK-47. They want the war to stop. You see? So everybody supporting that is blind or in an agenda. You see, that is a good thing that is higher than the prevailing evil. I can give you more examples.
Seemingly good thing.
Do you understand? I can give you more example. Bring back our girls. Maybe I shouldn't go there. Because, you see, because at times, I'm not sure people are ready for the conversations at times. You know, so if there's so much wrong in the Bring Back Our Girls movement, so much wrong. And how Bring Back Our Girls became, you know, went viral and became a bigger brand more than Defeat Boko Haram is a symposium discussion. Because the problem was Boko Haram, not the kidnap of girls. Don't get me wrong. Girls should not be kidnapped. I think for the parents, we should wrestle that down. But boys were being kidnapped. Girls were being kidnapped. Women, fathers were being kidnapped. Bigger than that, war was going on. And so how do you select a part of the pain and make that go viral? And then Barack Obama, bring back our girls. Michelle Obama, bring back our girls. Oprah, bring back our girls. And everybody bring back our girls. One, all the girls are not back. Two, Boko Haram lives on. If you go to the war front and you ask the parents of the girls themselves, which one they prefer, end Boko Haram or bring back our girls, they will say, end Boko Haram. End Boko Haram. So when you look at these things, there are ways subtle, and please, that is not to pull down Bring Back Our Girls movement. That is not to, I'm just saying there is a way that good. For example, let me tell you. In Nigeria, 2005, 2004, 2006, planes were dropping from the air and good citizens were being killed from air crashes. Remember? All kinds of air crash accidents was happening and Nigerians were being killed, right? Great people died in those years from the aircraft, right? From the air accidents, right? And then when it happened, you know, the flag of the nation was flown half-mast and a lot of people were very sad. There was, you know, a holiday solemnization, a solemn gathering was called all over the country and committees were formed to look at why planes were dropping. The whole country was sad. Why are the whole country sad? Because one plane dropped per year. In a local flight, how many people are in a local flight? 150 people dropped in a plane and they died. Too sad. I'm not excited about that. People dear to me died in those crashes, and I do not take it for granted in any way. But look at it deeper. Just
accidents happen here every day.
300 women, 300 die from childbirth complications every month in Nigeria. At that time, I don't know what the number is now. 300 women die from childbirth. I'm not talking about all the other issues in Nigeria. I'm just talking about childbirth complications. 300 women. Please, in one local flight, how many people can be in there? 150. 300 women is 2 planes. That's 2 aeroplanes. That's 2 airplanes, right? That means by the end of the year, if we use 150 per plane, that means 24 airplanes have dropped. Filled with women, 24 airplanes have dropped. Filled with women trying to give birth. Filled with pregnant women have dropped. No public holiday, no newspaper report.
Plus the child in them might go to,
has gone to. Nobody is gloomy. The flag is not flying half-mast. Nobody is having the conversation. Nobody is discussing it. It is nothing important. You know why? You must ask. Who is dying? What type of women die from childbirth complications? Essentially, the poor, right? So the lowest, again, the mothers of the hoodlum, the auntie of the thug, you know, the wife of the driver, the cousin of the organizer. You know, those are the guys at the bottom. They are the ones dying. So nobody's going to talk about that. Why are we all sad that 150 people died? Because they are the CEOs, the chief executives, the creme de la creme, the high society. Again, it is the party
double
of the
standards.
It's a party of the privilege. You see, those are the type of hypocrisy that we have to attend to. Somehow, blood has different premium in Nigeria. The blood of the rich has a different premium. The blood of the middle class has a different premium. The blood of the lower middle class has a different premium. The blood of the poor has a different premium. Bouquie, can I shock you? Do you know I am against doctors going on strike? I fight it to the last. Every time doctors go on strike in Nigeria, I tweet against them. People attack me. They say all sorts. I don't care. You know why? Because I think that to be a doctor in Nigeria is sacred. To be a doctor in any third world country is sacred. Now, when doctors go on strike, the government officials don't feel jack. Let me tell you about one of the core instruments of non-violence as taught by Mahatma Gandhi, that you don't just stand for what is wrong and protest on it. You have to find something that affects the power centers and the custodians of power in that environment and camp your protest around it. If you go and camp around what the power blocks cannot feel, you are punishing your own people. You see? And that is why when you look at it, the protests and all that happened, the shops in ShopRite were the shops of protesters. The shops of the peaceful protesters were the ones that were robbed in the malls, in the stores. All these young entrepreneurs were people who supported the protests. But when, like I said, agitation precedes education, it creates a lot of crisis. When you come back to that issue of camping around what can really bring change, you see that we miss a lot. We miss a lot. You want to sit down as doctors and say, what? Because when the doctors are on strike, you don't know how many emails I get. My mom is sick. We need to go to a private hospital. We just need 100,000. We need 70,000. We are the ones, I'm sure they send you mails when doctors are on strike. It's the public figures that get all the DMs and all the things. Why? Because when youth go on strike, when doctors go on strike, it is and don't forget the doctor going on strike. He probably has a private hospital. He probably is working 2 jobs. If it's so, you see, you know what I say? I said, if doctors go on strike, it is fine. As long as if the daughter of the doctor is sick too, he will not treat his daughter. If the cousin of the doctor is sick, he will not treat his cousin. If he will treat his cousin and treat his daughter, he has lost his right not to treat the poor, because the poor are not the problem. So doctors, you cannot go on strike. What you are doing appears good, is another good evil that is greater than popular evil, coded, covert evil. You see, because I tell people, strike is a type of agitation. It's not the only one. If you want to go on strike, define what you cannot do. It is the poor that goes to general hospital. It is the poor that goes to most of those hospitals. So you can't go on strike. What you should do is choose NMA doctors. Let 200 go and sit on Third Mainland. Let another 100 go and sit at the airport and use your education to call CNN, BBC to come and picture it. If you really want to fight, fight, but don't punish us in your fight. Otherwise, you are fighting, you are punishing us in the hope that if you punish us enough, the government will hear you. That's not fair now. You are using us as the tool of negotiation. It's not fair now. If you can't find any way to get the attention of the government, don't use the blood of the poor. Don't use the life of the poor as the instrument of negotiation. You see, these are conversations we can have for the rest of our lives. But if we don't call ourselves to this type of mandate and begin to ask deeper questions, I don't know if I've answered the question that you asked me, actually. I'm not even sure. You actually asked me.
My brain don't scatter. Right now, I can't even think well. My mind is lost. The question was that what could we have done differently for the protest?
Gain. The question was the gain. The gain. So for me,
the spoils of war. Yes.
Yes, I really think that Nigeria has changed forever, whichever way this is. Like I've said on different platforms, I don't think the protest was a failure. I think it was a success. And whatever setbacks we see, for me, is just feedback from the future. I don't consider it a failure at all. I think everybody in power, anywhere in Nigeria, are on their toes right now, and they are taking a second look at what they think they have mastered. and they are taking a second look at what has worked for over 60 years. And they are asking questions now about how much of this can really survive in the future. And I'm sure people are sitting down to say, what can we do differently? So this protest has sparked the right conversations on both sides, at every level. The only reason why we are discussing this was because this protest happened in the way it happened, in the manner it happened, and in the manner it was disrupted. This disruption has come with body counts, but I still see the value in that, because there is a level of restlessness. There is a level of questioning that has been erupted because of the way it was disrupted, right? And so I doubt if Nigeria will ever be the same again positively. I also believe that it needs to be managed well. I believe the government has to rise up at some point, and the people too have to rise up at some point to manage this well, so that it doesn't get out of hands. Because if it does, it is a zero-sum game, right? It is a loss for everyone. So we need to keep the country together, and we need to be careful about the use of adjectives so that we don't continue to spark violence, because nobody needs that. I think that more than ever, this is going to lead us to the right call, the call to mental weaponry and clarity.
Yes.
I think that is clear to everybody now. People now know beyond any doubt that we don't just need determination. We just don't need resolve. We just don't need anger. We need the strategic table. We need, data. We need science. We need protocols. We need to think. We need data. We need to organize, better. And I think that we also see the golden chance. A lot of people now are not, I was speaking to a 13-year-old yesterday who was in Nigeria, and he said, PK, I can't wait to come to voting age. I can't wait. 13-year-old. Everybody is aware of what has gone on. Everybody is aware of what has happened. I spoke to a group of 16-year-olds in a conference yesterday. I'm going to speak with them tomorrow again. And they are all charged up. They can't wait for 20, because by 2023, they'll be voting. And they are so excited about voting. And they are learning real quick. So I think we have, like I said, a hubris that is fantastic. We should camp around the consciousness we can create by 2023, the unison, the one voice we can create amongst young people by 2023. We should get excited about the political documentation and the political consciousness we can create by 2023. And then if we can plug some data management into that, where, we can actually have millions of people on a database, where emails can be sent and text messages can be sent, I think it will be great. Even though that still needs to be fine-tuned, because a database in the hand of the wrong people can make it easy to target people, right? But we shouldn't throw it away just because of that threat. There are ways, otherwise companies will not keep databases. Our credit card are on different clouds, of different companies, and we put it there anyway. So we should think of fences and cybersecurity machineries to protect that data. But I think that in our community development, we should organize. Before we think of political parties, which I think is great, I think we should think of, a nation building, efforts. And that doesn't need to be one type of organization. We need like 25 different, non-profits addressing the welfare of police, agitating for the welfare of police. We need another 24, maybe, agitating for, the welfare of the military, insurance for military, healthcare for military, for military veterans. We need another maybe 35 different non-profits and advocacy groups fighting for recycling in Nigeria, recycling of or another group fighting renewable energy. We need tons of advocacy groups, of non-profit efforts addressing different parts of the country, for different areas of the word escaped me. Anyway,
sectors.
Yeah, different sectors, of the country, of the economy. We need to look at schools, education. What do we do with the private schools? Can we change the way we educate our young people? Can we make it more like we do it in the United States, like it's done in the United States, where every community is funded by their income and the people of that community, so that we can have the differences. We shouldn't stop somebody living in Adeni Jones from sending his kids to a public school in Magodo, as long as they are all within the Ikeja local government. But we can get the private sectors in. We should regulate the private schools and make it difficult to set up a private school, so that when the private school is finally set up, it should be expensive for whoever can afford it. Just like in America, we have private schools here, but at times you ask yourself, what is the purpose? Because the public schools are as excellent on many grounds, right? Yes. So you send your kids to a public school, and if you choose a private school, you know you are going to pay for it, right? So we don't need private schools in Nigeria as the only option to excellent education. No. Private schools should be luxury. Public schools should be the platform for excellent education. And we should have about 15 different advocacy groups, pressure groups that are making noise, protesting and fighting, writing articles, blogging, tweeting against private schools, and regulating it and putting it in perspective and giving power back to public schools. A lot of our daddies who own the private schools were educated in the public schools. A lot of them went to St. Finbar's, they went to Baptist Academy, they went to Methodist Girls High School, they went to Queen's College. Our unity schools are challenged terribly. We need efforts there. So when we have all of these non-profits that are addressing different area, teachers need attention. We need non-profits out focusing on teachers. You know what I've said? I've said that any Nigerian earning above 35,000, if you are earning above 35,000,
a month or a year,
35,000 a month. If you are earning above 35,000 naira a month, you should be able to separate at least 1,000 naira for personal social responsibility. Take out 1,000 naira a month. It means at the end of the year, you will have invested 12,000 naira into personal social responsibility in your community. So if you start a national consciousness movement in Ajangba district, and you are talking to all the young boys between age 18 and whatever, and you have another intermediate class for people between age 13 and 18, and you have an entry-level group from age 6 or 4 up to 12, and you are teaching them a curriculum maybe based on honor, integrity, patriotism, decency, self-dignity, and you are teaching all of that, and social responsibility. You organize them every Saturday to come out, or every 2 Saturdays, to clean the area, to clean the street, to pack refuse.
We had that.
Do all of that.
We had that. We had that growing up. We had that growing up.
Yeah, but the difference is it was legislated. It was not what we want to do. Because the testimony of a friend is stronger than that of a salesman. You see, when your friend is telling you buy this thing, it's stronger than when the salesman is telling you this is good for you. So when it is the government saying let's do sanitation, it is not as strong. But when one of us is rising up to say I'm cleaning today, guys, join me, it unlocks energy. It brings community. It unlocks camaraderie, and then we all run after that order. So we need community service. Obama was a community worker. He was doing a lot of community organizing. So we need community organizing. And then the work of the elite conscious is to create a web that brings all those community efforts together so that they are talking to the leaders of the community work. And then we are not just talking to them, but providing TTT, train the trainer programs for those people, even helping them to access funding globally, advocacy funding, non-profit development funding, and all of that, and helping them to secure collaborations at higher level, access people with resource background at another level. We can do that. Those are immediate things that can bring incredible force by 2023 to do a lot. And that, for me, is not about the young or the old. That is about people with heads on their shoulders who can organize for the common good. We should stop this selective reasoning of ageism and start looking for value wherever it is found. And Nigerians must know that young people were the ones that destroyed Nigeria. It's young people that destroyed Nigeria. You see, they should stop thinking it is old people. It's old people. In 1960, there was no old man in politics in Nigeria. Everybody in politics in Nigeria were young. They are Olowos, they are Zikwes, they are Nauros, they were in their 20s, they were in their 30s. The oldest of them was just crossing 40. Young people took Nigeria and ran it aground. So we can't be looking to young people like we've not had it before. There was a time only young people were in power. There was nobody old in power in the 60s, in the 70s, right? It is that those people got old. So now it is clear that age is not what we need. We need wisdom. And that wisdom is on the head, is on the shoulder of so many people. We should not just look for our types. You know, I don't want to say this, but you see, we know how to look for our type and click. Somehow, you see people moving, and when you check their profile, they are all British citizens. They all schooled abroad. They all went to the same university. They are all sorts of, and then you see a level of disconnect. The diversity is not strong. We shouldn't look for ourselves. We should sit down and say, where are the brains of Nigeria? Where can they be found? Let's reach out to this person. Let's find this person. Look at what that chap is organizing. Look at what that is saying. That is the type of unity we can build in diversity. We should stop also the weight of religion, because religion is not faith. And we should stop looking for value only with our kind of people. You know, I'm not a fan of looking for a Christian president. I actually don't think that is the salvation, because I've seen Christian fools and I've seen Muslim fools and I've seen foolishness in every religion. So for the weight of my spirituality, I need a spiritual counselor. But for nation building, we need heads. They are not Christians in Dubai. They are Muslims there. They are not even Muslims nor Christians in China. Yet they are the second largest economy in the world. So God seems to have released some independent nutrient for whoever is open to value multiplication. When your soul, deep in your solical content, if you are open to value multiplication, God has arranged the universe to send you nutrient and value. And that is why countries who are not religious can prosper. I think that's the kind of things we have to begin to think about, so that whether it is the guys in Ajegunle, or the guys in Mushin, or the guys in VI, we must find our humanity as the common denominator. And we all have to be able to meet on one table and organize around this immediate effect. Like I said, let whoever is strategizing today classify his own organization, whatever he's doing, into 4 different phases: the immediate goals, the short-term goals, the long-term goals, and the legacy goals. Let us not be camping around legacy goals as short-term goals. You know, that we're going to defeat ourselves. It's called brought in dead, BID, brought in dead from day one. So let's focus on those. And the immediate goal now is what we have outlined. Maybe there are more, I'm sure, but the goal is 2023, right? But, you know, it's not just to say when we get to 2023, one of the errors of this government was they wanted change so bad, they did not ask themselves, what do we do when we have the power? So it was when they got to government, started saying, oh, what are we going to do? And then they couldn't appoint ministers, they couldn't choose anything, they couldn't work for months. You know, we should have a plan. We should have at least, you know, a documentation of our immediate goals, the short-term goals, the long-term goals, the legacy goals, documented. It will continue to be edited. You know the way Wikipedia is? The way Wikipedia is, where, you know, we keep editing it. So you can create a document and keep editing it, right? But you know what your immediate goals are. And that is the core mission. You focus on that and try to, you know, create that as a necessary experience for everybody, right? Yeah.
No, I don't even listen. You touched on so many points today. I'm sure tonight in Nigeria and every other place. It's such an honor having you here. There are 3 basic things that limit a man: his character worth, the ground on which it stands, and the knowledge in his mind. And like you said, we gravitate towards our type. You know, we always like to gravitate towards our type. So I'm hoping that when I put this up, people can pick and choose their weaknesses, their strengths, and work with it. Because I mean, I wish I could keep going on. You talked about the bad eggs from the basket, but our time is going to be up soon, and I know you're really busy. But I really thank you for coming, and especially the ageism part, where a lot of people, you know, think we don't need you, you're too old. You don't need you, you're too young. We need to scrap that. Religion, anything that divides us, you know, and I think our strength is in our diversity, age, whatever, you know. So thank you so much for coming to Bouqui'S Place. Do you have any last words? I mean, we've talked about the president, we've talked about his speech. If you guys don't have it, go to Bouqui'S Place. It's going to be live on Bouqui'S Place on YouTube. And remember to subscribe. We've talked about the president. We've talked about the protest. We've talked about the youth, you know, embracing all sorts of people. You've talked about the people in the grassroots, which was Obama's strength. Grassroots, don't start with the educated people, you know. And any last words you want to say before we go off?
I just want to, I want to remind everyone that there's a master plan. There is a master plan that, and I speak to you guys as a futurist. There are maps and there are dots to connect. And in the universe called Nigeria, there are parallel universes to that. And I can let you know there is a master plan that transcends the logic and craftiness of men. I want to assure you that something larger than intelligence is going on. And the CEO is heaven itself. And right in the plans of the planners, there is a grand plan that transcends the limit of that plan. And something weighty is being designed. And at the end of all of this, evil will lose, Nigeria will win. And I need you to have comfort in that. In those moments where your logic cannot catch what is happening, where your heart is, you know, defeated, where your mind is under siege, where you are depressed, frustrated, and you really cannot find answers, go higher and recognize that God rules in the affairs of men. And more than ever before, I would have loved not to use the name God, because I know that there is something bequeathed already by God to humanity in this season. This is the decade. In January, I said it. In 2018, in my 240 minutes work called Borderlessness, I said it. All through the lockdown, I said it. I said the next 10 years will be about 4 things. I will mention 3. I will not mention the last one. The first one is the fading of powers as we know it. Go to my post, go listen to some of the things I've said there months ago. I've said the next 2020 all to 2030 is about the fading of powers as we know it. Number 2, the rise of voices and powers as we are yet to know. The rise of voices and powers as we are yet to know. Number 3, the rise of underdogs. The rise of underdogs. I will say it again. The fading of powers as we have known it. The rise of powers and voices as we are yet to know. And the rise of underdogs. If you look at all that is happening, you see those 3 realities are shaping out. That is the character of the next 10 years. It will be true for businesses. It will be true for religious centers. It will be true for politicians. It will be true for in the arts, in entertainment, in the sciences, in business, in everywhere. There will be the fading of powers as we know it to be. There will be the rise of powers and voices as we are yet to know. And there will be the rise of underdogs, no-name boys and girls, men and women rising to influence and reputation capital at a level unprecedented. They will not necessarily qualify, but it is reserved for such a time as this. A change that transcends our history, our failures is coming. You will not be qualified because of the strength of your grammar, where you have schooled, where you have not schooled. You will not be qualified because of your surname or your last name or anything like that. It is the weight of destiny. Newness beckons. And the sound of change has come to interrupt the order of human experiences. And change is reserved today for those who will open up their souls to be ready to take a stake in the global scheme of things. You are the time the whole world has been waiting for. And this is the time. Trust me. It's not just Nigeria, right? Look at America, Black Lives Matter. Look at what is going on across the world. It's a wind of change. And you are blessed to be alive, to be witnessing this. Instead of asking what is going on, ask, what should I do? What is my role? What is my stake? What is coming will come. It is who you are, how you see, how you hear, how you interpret that will make the difference. Find that hope. Hold on to that. Put your ears into a lot of tranquility. Listen more than talking these days, and try to find the instruction for your own unique journey and unique path. I'm very sure if you are alive by January 1st, 2021, a call and a responsibility will have come upon you for the next 10 years. That is what it will be, and I'm so sure of that. Amen. I'm so sure of that.
Listen, I will not add one single word to that. That is the best place to end this show because it's just phenomenal. Thank you so much for coming to Bouqui'S Place. Thank you guys for joining, rocking with us. This is Mr. Kunle Soriyan. Please follow him on Olakunle Soriyan. And they said, do you have books that we can buy and stuff?
Well, I have a store, learn.kinechorianstore.com. Learn.
Well, it's in your bio, right? It's in your bio. Check his bio. You can get, you need to be educated in this season. Please, enough of candy floss and wool. This is substance. We need substance in this season. Thank you so much for coming to Bouqui'S Place.
It's an honor to be part of what you're doing anytime. I celebrate you. I'm a fan. I told you that years ago. I am still a fan. I will remain a fan. Thank you for keeping yourself the way you are. Thank you for putting yourself out. Thank you for the answers you have chosen to embrace. You are different. The flavor of a difference inspires me every time. And it's such a blessing to connect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Love you very much. Thank you, guys. All right. Thank you. I'll see you. I'll call you after. Thank you. All right.